Here come the participation trophies for would-be presidential assassins. You tried your best, but in the end, you're still just a loser with a crush on Jodie Foster. Welcome to American Esoterica. If history class gives you the midwinter, this is the dry, cracking skin, the essential stuff in between, the personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. Successful presidential assassinations are a frequent topic, and the names of those assassins are seared into our brains. But what about all the assassination attempts? It takes a pretty big loser to decide to assassinate someone, let alone a head of state. So it's got to be even more humiliating when they don't succeed. One day you set out to be the next Lee Harvey Oswald, and the next, not only have you failed, but everybody knows about your crush on a 12-year-old. And that's only if you even live. We know about more famous attempts on the lives of Ronald Reagan or Donald Trump, but there are other lower-profile attempts that got a little too close for comfort. Working backward, we'll start at the September 1975 attempts on the life of Gerald Ford. On September 22nd, as the president left a California hotel to deliver a speech, Sarah Jane Moore pulled out a .38 caliber revolver and got off 2 shots at him. The first shot missed and went through a doorway. A quick-thinking former Marine named Oliver Sipple managed to grab her arm and throw off the second shot, which instead injured another bystander. Ford was shoved into the presidential limo, where he remained under a pile of Secret Service agents and staffers for several blocks. On the top of that pile, you guessed it, Donald Rumsfeld. What made this attempt all the more shocking is that it came just 17 days after a different attempt on Ford's life. You can't see me. I'm using air quotes around attempt. I say that because the earlier incident was at the hands of Lynette Squeaky Fromm, who had dressed as Little Red Riding Hood and approached Ford as he left a different California hotel and pulled a .45 caliber handgun from an ankle holster, aiming it at the president. The Secret Service disarmed her before she could get a shot off. But a different way to put that would be to say that the Secret Service disarmed her before it was clear that the gun wasn't loaded. So in the pantheon of pathetic people doing pathetic things like assassinations, this one only gets in as an attempt on a technicality. Fromm wasn't exactly the least chewed crayon in the pack. She was a member of the Manson family cult, which is why you might actually remember her name instead of Sarah Jane Moore, who actually tried to shoot the president. Both women, and yay for female equality and would-be assassins, spent many years in prison before getting paroled in the early aughts. In 1948, the White House began significant renovations, so President Harry Truman needed a place to stay. For the duration of the renovation work, the executive mansion temporarily resided across the street at Blair House. Blair House is today more commonly used to house foreign dignitaries on visits or president-elects in the days before their inaugurations and official moves into the White House. On a November afternoon in 1950, 2 members of a Puerto Rican nationalist movement, Oscar Collazo and Griselio Torresola, attempted to shoot their way into Blair House to assassinate Truman, who was taking a nap on the 2nd floor. They opened fire on Secret Service guard Leslie Caulfield, mortally wounding him. But Caulfield was still able to open fire, killing Torresola. Collazo tried to shoot another Secret Service guard, but he hadn't cocked his gun. By the time he got it ready, the guard was turning to face him, and the gunman only managed to shoot the guard in the knee. That guard and 2 other Secret Service agents returned fire, shooting Collazo twice. The gunfire woke Truman from his nap, and he ran, like an idiot, to the open window to see what was going on, before a guard yelled at him to get down and stay down. Collazo survived and was sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment by President Truman. Finally, we come to the bull moose daddy of presidential assassination attempts, although he wasn't a sitting president at the time. The election of 1912 was particularly heated. Teddy Roosevelt had thrown his hat back in the ring for a potential 3rd term, citing dissatisfaction with his chosen successor, William Howard Taft. Things got so ugly that the Republican National Convention was strewn with barbed wire around the podium, hidden by bunting. At a campaign stop in Milwaukee in October of that year, As Roosevelt left his hotel and stood up in his open-air car to wave to the evening crowd, John Schrank stepped forward and shot Teddy from 5 feet away. A brief aside, if there's any takeaway or common thread for many of these assassination attempts, it's that presidents should probably avoid leaving hotels by the front door. Anyway, Roosevelt's stenographer grabbed the assassination hopeful in a headlock and held him, and the crowd moved in to begin beating him. True to his nature, Roosevelt yelled out, "Don't hurt him, bring him here. I want to see him," and "He doesn't know what he is doing. Don't strike the poor creature." He asked his would-be assassin for an explanation, and without getting one, turned him over to the police. The thing is, Schrank had succeeded where all our other contestants failed. His shot connected with his target in the correct spot. Roosevelt felt inside his coat and discovered a bullet hole in his chest. Amazingly, the bullet had been slowed by the 50-page speech he had folded in half in his coat pocket and the case for his trademark spectacles. Rather than pierce his lungs and heart, as it would have unobstructed, it lodged next to one of his ribs, where it remained the rest of his life. Which is why, instead of heading to a hospital, President Theodore Roosevelt Jr., that wily Rough Rider and former sickly Manhattan child, proceeded to Milwaukee Auditorium and delivered an 84-minute speech while bleeding from a bullet wound in his chest. Since he wasn't coughing up blood, he realized that the bullet hadn't punctured a lung. So why not go deliver a campaign speech? There's a reason why John Schrank is smiling in a picture taken of him in the police department. He had discovered that clearly Teddy Roosevelt was unkillable. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want to remind me about all the other assassination attempts that deserve a mention? Drop me a note. The address is yale@americanesoterica.com. More information on this show and its episodes can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless America.